I've been doing HoLEPs now for 4 years and a half, and I've done already 200 cases, and I teach them to my colleagues and to my juniors. Before doing HoLEPs, I was doing what was classic. For prostate less than 80 grams, I was doing a monopolar TARP, and for prostate bigger than 80 grams, I was doing retropubic milling. So I see many advantages, but for me, the main one is that you are purely anatomical. It means that what you reproduce with a HoLEP is exactly what you do with your finger when you perform like a milling retropubically. So it's a perfect anatomical technique. So the challenges I've had when I started doing HoLEPs are manifolds. I think that firstly, if you lose the plane of enucleation, things can turn bad. So you can go outside the prostatic capsule. You can undermine the bladder neck, if not damage the ureteric orifices. And of course, starting with bigger prostate is probably not a very good idea. So I would suggest to start with prostate around 50-60 grams, which are the kind of prostate we do TURP on, and progressively move to something more challenging. I decided to learn HoLEP because I was impressed with the first films edited by Peter Gilling and Mark Frondhofer. So I've seen the first movie on the Luminance booth in Madrid in 2003, and seeing this video made me take the decision to have access to this technique. Unfortunately, I was in France where we had minimal access to that, and subsequently I decided to do a big change in my life and move to New Zealand, where I've been living now for 5 years. As I was almost self-taught, I would say, I needed 50 cases to be proficient. And I had very bad times for my 20 first cases. If you've got the luxury to have a mentor on site, which is the case of the people I teach HoLEP to, you need 20 cases, perhaps a little bit more if you've got less skill, because as I say, skill is not transferable. But yes, between 20 and 50 cases is probably the good number. What I would say to green light doctors wanting to make the switch, the first thing I would tell them, of course you can use the green light laser to do an enucleation, but it probably takes longer. You break fibers, and you cannot use many fibers on many patients. So probably if they want to move to HoLEPs, they will have to consider to buy another laser source. I have nothing against green light. But for sure, what I've seen about vaporization, whatever the laser is not able to reproduce anatomically what we are able to do with HoLEP. My patients are referred by GPs. And because this is the system how it works in New Zealand, so a patient cannot self-refer himself like we would do in France. So I depend on my colleague's GP to operate on patient. And sometimes I've got patients who are referred to me by colleagues who are not feeling comfortable to operate on a big gland and refer the patient to me. So our patients hear about treatment options in many ways. As we are in New Zealand, and that some of them know that the technique's been invented in New Zealand, they already know about holmium laser enucleation of the prostate. But after that, when the time comes to consult them, we offer them, of course, discussion about other alternatives. And of course, we would not deny a patient to have a TURP or retropubic adenomectomy if he wants to. Yeah, the outcomes of the whole, what struck me, if I compare my experience that I had in France to the HoLEP technique, I have a reoperation rate with my HoLEP, which is 1%, and with my Turks in France, which was much more higher. We can see in the literature that it has as high as 15%. So one of the drawbacks of this technique is the lack of teaching. So when it comes to teaching with my residents or my other colleagues, so I stay scrubbed with them. They know the principle of the operation when they arrive in theater, and I would take over if I see anything inappropriate or dangerous. And the procedure is recorded from A to Z, and I ask my trainee to review the video at home, which takes a long time. But I think this is one of the only way to get over the teaching, the learning curve, to see your procedure back home, sitting in the sofa with a drink, and review what you did good, which you could reproduce the next time, and what you did badly, and which you had to amend the next time.